features VRML Season 4, Week 5. My name is Nightfire with 2 E's. I'm joined by my co-caster Plague Doctor in today's journey into the mid-tier Shadow Wizard Money Gang versus 18, if you know how to read Roman numerals. I think that's what it is at least. Plague, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How about you?
Oh, I'm feeling good. I'm excited about our matchup this afternoon as we pull up the matchup history. Both squads putting in their time so far in the regular season. Shadow Wizard Money Gang going 3-3, 18 going 2-3. Both of them kind of right smack dab in the middle of the ladder. There's a lot of teams competing this season, but I'm curious what you're anticipating out of these two squads this afternoon. You know, frankly, I'll just be happy to see some coordinated attacks.
Yeah, I think some coordinated attacks would be nice, but I'm especially hoping to see some good util from both sides. We saw Shadow Wizard Money Gang on a cast in the past who were putting down some fantastic util overall, and I haven't really seen XIIX play, which I believe is 20 in Roman numerals.
Oh, okay.
So they might be a couple numbers off.
Maybe they're off on there.
Maybe a little bit, but regardless, you know, I hope they can get some good gunfire down. You are a bit middle of the road here. Shadow Wizard Money Gang has come out a little bit with some of their matches. I haven't seen XIIX play too much, but I'm excited to see if they can get some good gunplay down. What I really do want to see is some not too aggressive play. I want them to play, you know, less of a just completely point central play, maybe get a couple roamers and try to experiment a little.
And we do have both squads in, and we should be diving into our first map of the afternoon, which does look like it is going to be on Factory. And as we look at the statistics, Factory certainly one that XIIX have been putting some time into. 44% win rate. I wonder how they have a 2-3 record with so little rounds played. Maybe it's an error coming in our stats end, but either way, we're going into the unknown this afternoon. Plague, as we do dive in to our first map of the day, and it is going to be on Factory. What do you think? How are you feeling about our opening set here?
Factory is going to be an interesting one. I've been seeing Factory quite a bit in VRML so far. I'm guessing you can, you know, also see that, you know, Factory has been a huge thing. Not many teams have really banned it. We've seen bans on Skyscraper. We've almost always seen bans on Mall this season. Yeah. So, you know, we'll see if some good gameplay from Factory comes through. We actually saw that last night on one of my casts when I was doing with Old Gravy. You know, we had pretty much a steamroll on Factory. That was an interesting thing to watch. So I hope that we're going to get some better gameplay tonight.
We will see as we dive into our pistol opener. Round one kicking off here. On the attack is XIIX. On the defense, Shadow Wizard Money Gang already losing one on their early extension out to A site, and now a fast push in, breaching the walls. A quick coordinated play, hitting from both angles. The Slim Shady pops out for one. Another goes down on the back line, and Slim Shady's still fighting up to the front. Frostbite barrels through a flank from Bakura, connects with one. They pick up a second. They're barreling towards Krollo, and we're into a 1v2.
Those refrags were very nice from XIIX. We saw them taking advantage of their numbers on the SWMG gang. You know, they were trying to hold down connector and the inside of point, and so XIIX took great advantage of that and managed to push straight in. Now with EMP down, Krollo has about 40 seconds to take down these two players. However, he is at full health, so he can survive getting shot by one of them, but not both at the same time, as he gets flanked out by Bakura and gets taken out, meaning that 18 or XIIX gets to take this first round. And, you know, they had a fantastic push onto that bottom floor, Nightfire. I think we're going to get to see some good play from them. I
mean, a nice little bit of a rebuttal coming in as well from Shadow Wizard Money Gang. And we got to figure out how I'm already seeing it now, how we're going to have to refer to these teams, because Shadow Wizard Money Gang is a mouthful, and XIIX is definitely not happening. So I think I'm going to stick with 18. I think the idea is that X is 10 and then IIX definitely isn't 8. No, X is 5.
So X is 10. XIIX would be 20. So X is 10, I is 1, that'd be 11, and then IX is 9. So that's 20. If they wanted to do
Jeez.
18, it would be XVIII, but that's more of a mouthful. So, but I think we just stick with 18 and SWMG. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Or just gang. I don't know.
Or the Wizards.
Yeah, or the Wizards. I like that. Yeah. Regardless, we do have Wizards SWMG trying to hold down these stairs. We did have Slim Shady, their sub, trying to hold the stairs, but decided to go against that. A big roam that did not pay up from SWMG already evened up numbers. However, health advantage lands in SWMG's court as they look to open the hatch.
These dang Wizards causing us some trouble as they trade 1 for 1. And that, yeah, you got to wonder, is the roam worth it after losing the round to find a kill maybe? But you're also down an SMG, and they put that into the... I think they had... Did Logan have one? Yeah, I think they had an SMG up there, so that's going into the hands of your opponent and kind of reinforces them a little bit. Some utility comes in from Tiger Claw. Like you said, utility is going to be something we're seeing a lot of as the flash comes through. The push into A site doesn't come in.
Very passive A hold from SWMG. They have one in connector, one on the other side of the point, but no one behind the bomb. That's an important peak that they don't have down currently as they are pushed in on to plant. 18 ready in the point. Gets taken out. Kill shot takes down a quick 2K. Tiger Claw tries to capitalize off it with a Spectral and takes him down.
Nice bit of damage done on the kill shot there, and so Tiger Claw confident enough to push up. A good bit of a hold from Twin Cities. That leaves us alone with Slim Shady up on the top hatch. Ready to defend, ready to catch Tiger Claw rotating up here and off guard. The trade goes into Slim Shady's favor. Incendiary goes down to the doorway, and we're into a 1v1.
On this 1v1, it's going to be rough for Slim Shady to push down. They're at half health, and they have one on stairs. There's not an easy way for them to get this off. They're going to have to put some work in. They tap it, but they don't even have time to really defuse at this point. It's more about just denying the econ from Twin Cities.
Yeah, you have to try and stick it now as the peak comes out, and Twin Cities will find the kill. The round goes into 18's hands, but it is barely theirs. I mean, the last round, 2 alive with the sliver of HP on both players' health bars, and now Twin Cities the only one that stands between their team and victory. And some close wins, but wins nonetheless. So round 3, what do we got? Another SMG round coming in from the Wizards.
Yeah, and we have 18 forming up most likely onto the meta push onto hatch. We see this quite a bit from a lot of teams, from master down to bronze. The meta push onto the hatch towards Tetris below it, trying to get in towards lockers and the front of A. It's important for Wizards to not let up too much ground. If they let 18 take up ground outside of A, it would make it so that they can pop open the wall with no one to contest. I feel maybe not even a roam from Wizards, but just having multiple people to get refrags would serve them very well. Currently, they're getting killed in 1v1s, 2v1s. It just feels better for them to group up. So hopefully they do get in on that on this next defensive round. They are sticking more together on points.
Yeah, and gosh, I like to have you on the analysis desk play. Great breakdown there as we do get ready to go in to round 3 here. Both teams locked in, and I mean, so far pretty great back and forth. These teams seemingly evenly matched this afternoon for a nice Friday night fight.
100%. And now they're trying to get into the point. A nade will take out the static from one of these players. A great flash on the kill shot allows Frostbite to push straight in, take out 2. Bakura takes out Pekka, and a Incendiary barely misses, and suddenly
what?
It is a 1v4.
Blink and you would have missed that. A great entry, great utility. The incendiaries, the frag grenades, everything going against the likes of the Wizards. And man, 18 comes out strong for round 3, absolutely barreling in. And we got to take a look at that replay again. The push in coming from who was that? That with that great flash in the back. It was Frostbite. Then the swing for the double. And that is a nice play to put into your highlight reel right there, because not often do you find a flash hitting its target dead in the eyes, but that was a perfectly tossed one to the back line.
Yeah, and importantly, it allowed him to push straight into the back of the point. You see that sometimes where people throw out utility. I especially see it with frags, where they throw out utility to be able to push the defenders back and then just don't do anything off of it. Obviously, sometimes you can't push in. But I feel like you need to capitalize off the utility. You don't want to just waste $200 on a flash or an incendiary that you don't follow it up with a good push, good gameplay, and Frostbite really made a good push with that. Logan Youngjet, again, going for a roam upstairs. We did see, I believe, him get taken down last time, but maybe he'll be able to get it off this time. An interesting push from 18. It looks like they might be going for assembly.
Look at Logan's weapon choice as well. That's an interesting one.
Yeah, Huracan. I have actually been seeing that a little more often, surprisingly. I'm surprised to not see the Kanut in people's hands, but I believe people are using the Huracan to just pour a lot of pellets down the range in order to push people back, which, I mean, it has been working. But I just feel like the time to kill is a little too high on the Huracan sometimes.
Yeah, those damaged, those little pellets not doing quite enough unless you're close. And here comes the drop down. Krollo with a team kill to open things up, not ideal. The 5-stack and a nade connecting onto the back line. Here comes the swing into B-side, and Pekka finds one, but not more than that. That could have been disaster for 18. 2 left alive. The push from Logan on the back line. The Huracan almost clutches up the day in another incredibly close round.
Making me eat my words with that Huracan. I think he got a 3K. Oh my goodness, some great shots, and it looks like we have the sub out for Wizards. Now we have Kinman Red coming in.
Yeah, I mean, hats off to the Wizards for being able to bring in that extra sub and be able to fill 5 within the time limit of when the game's supposed to start. We'd love to see that dedication to the rules and understanding. It's little things like that as a production caster that I do appreciate. So nice to start on time, and we'll see if the sub was helping or hurting, because now the full roster is here and they're fully equipped. They've got all of their guns, all the utility. That 4 loss in a row bonus coming in strong right now.
Yeah, 4 up on round 5 is not great for Wizards, but we are on Factory, so they have the chance to get it back. Over on offense, I wouldn't say it's very sided here on Factory, so they can get in. We see a pretty quick push from 18 trying to get into the building. If they do have a roam on lockers from Logan Youngjet, he has picked up, instead of a Huracan, he has picked up a Vezin. We have full rifle play on both sides already. 18 is in the point, looking to plant if they can, as Tiger Claw gets the EMP down. Trips take down Frostbite from Logan Youngjet, trying to get aggressive with their push out. Incendiary takes out 1, and suddenly it is a 3v4.
Kinman trying to barrel through here, trying to get loose, trying to find their first kill of the day, and they won't. Twin Cities scoops it up. It's a 3v3 with the health getting fully charged up from Twin on that health syringe. Everyone actually full health across the board, and EMP stuck for 18 on the wall. They are forced to plant it there.
And there's no throwables over on the Enforcers, over on 18, to bait out these players. They have to hit the EMP in order to bait out some utility, but they don't have a lot to respond with. Pekka does take out Scrap Rat, leaving a 2v3. Might be rotating. Hit the EMP to bait out utility. Nade goes down, but they still have an incendiary, which is a really important thing. It doesn't last the full 15 seconds it did before, but 10 seconds is an eternity in a game like this.
A little elbow shot there onto Bakura, taking him down 8 HP, but not too much. As a battle over this hole in the wall commences. Twin Cities trying to push forward. Twin Cities could spring a devastating trap onto several players here. As up over the top of their head gets popped. Nice defense from Killshot that keeps it advantage to Shadow Wizard Money Gang 2-1.
Misplaced incendiary might allow... Nice. But Killshot goes around and takes out Bakura, which will allow the Revolters on Wizards to get their first round, and also to deny some utility over on 18. They're not going to be able to get as much as they could before, and both teams will unfortunately not be able to go into the full buy, as we see Wizards not having enough to get Kinman Red a rifle on last round.
Yeah, they still will be able to scoop up a bunch of utility, though. They have enough for that, but not enough for a rifle, so it should be still a pretty legit defense. I think the best thing to slow down a squad like 18 that's just kind of sprinting through these offensive rounds is utility, and I think we've been seeing that as a key element, especially in the early stages of these rounds for this Shadow Wizard Money Gang squad. So they're on the board. They can get another one. They've got even extra utility there in case they do want it for a longer defensive round. And 4-1 is fine. 4-2, manageable. Like you said, a side swap going onto the attack definitely can maybe push us to a tiebreaker 6-6 because we don't do ties anymore here in the VRML. Thank heavens that system has been implemented, and we could be going to a tiebreaker if the pace keeps up to a certain level here. We'll see as a side swap is imminent. This is the last round of the half.
Incen goes out that takes down all these players very low. Logan Youngjet takes down Scrapper with an incendiary. One dies in a Stembly. Kinman takes down Bakura and is able to loot a rifle immediately. Suddenly, these 18 players are now down a lot of health, and 2 players, a flawless maybe in the work for Wizards if they're not careful. EMP is on Twin Cities. Tiger Claw throwing some utility in, trying to maybe just get any information. Dumping the utility, minute 50 left on the clock, tries to get a very aggressive push in, gets taken down by Trips as well as a Vezin. Now it's just Twin Cities and Frostbite, one of whom is on the A point, one is on the B point. They're very split up. It's going to be a bit of a rough situation to be in if one of them gets taken down.
Yeah, I think Frostbite's trying to catch them off guard, but this is a relatively well-disciplined defense, and they've got their 2 defenders stuck and locked in at A site. They've got a static emitter down as well, and Frostbite trying to time their shot at the static emitter with the explosion audio, and Killshot was just waiting there. Twin Cities gets 1, but they're into a 1v4. Full HP, tucked into the back line, a minute left on the clock. I think a higher tier team would end up really just everyone would send it towards Twin Cities right now. They really just try and lock in this last round, not allow that slowly pick away at your defense. But anything could happen here as Twin Cities has plenty of time to work with in the 1v4.
I don't know, honestly. With a higher tier team, they might send it, but a 1v4 is still a dangerous situation if you get too overconfident. That push, however, is something you see quite a bit. Trying to get the refrag, they're reloading. That's something that I do want to see from a lot more teams here on the VRML is pushing when the other person is reloading. You know they have to reload at some point. If you hear that magazine hit the floor, just push out and try to take them out.
Factory starts off exciting, to say the least. As we take a look at a couple of the replays, the flashbang to the back corner for a double kill. Maybe the only replay I've got so far, but a nice one nonetheless. No, we also had that opener, a nice opening defensive pick from Logan with the SMG, but only making it 1. And, oh yeah, some other replays from some past games that we don't need to dive into as we do get ready for our first round of the new half. We swapped sides, 18's on the defense, the Wizards attack, and I'm curious, what do you think? I feel like that was a weak final 2 rounds coming in from 18, but a really strong opening half for them.
Yeah, it's a clean slate. It was a few rounds that I feel like maybe SWNG, they're picking up the pace. Maybe they came in a little cold. Maybe they came in just a little bit down on their practice, but they got it off in the end. Maybe they just needed some rifles. I'm seeing a pretty aggressive roam from Tiger Claw downstairs that is not really near any of the typical pushes on this map. So I'm kind of surprised to see him so far away. If he's unlucky, he might not be there when Wizards push in. They're trying to push in on Tetris. 3 players on the back hallway. Nearly get taken down by P.E.K.K.A. But Frostbite is trying to get an info peek out to get him down. Very spread out offense from these Wizards players. 1 on Roof, 1 on Jen, 1 on the machine trying to shoot out Vending. You know, it's going to be interesting to see the defense from 18 to counter this.
How often do you see a team try and hit all of the entry points? Because I feel like it is easier to defend them all than attack them all, but we'll have to see it. They're basically taking on a set of 1v1s, and the first one goes to Frostbite. The drop down to the back line. Frostbite can't find a second. Kinman able to pick up that one, but not at the cost of all of their HP. Only 1 on the HP bar there, and they won't be able to heal that up.
Yeah, and because we're on pistol round, you're almost never going to see a healing stem on pistol round, except for in a few rare cases. So he's stuck at 1 health. He has to flawlessly take down people if he wants to get another kill. Tiger Claw is now roaming to the stairs where everyone else was. Krollo is currently alone with the EMP. 50 seconds on the clock. What could be Wizards' plan? They don't have a lot of time to get anything down. And 18 has a good spread of defenders around the points, able to get any sound cues possible. They'll be able to hear a wall get foamed. They'll be able to hear anyone drop that hatch and be able to respond accordingly. I'm wondering if Wizards is planning to rotate to B, maybe? I thought maybe it was going to be a save, but now they've all dropped in. Wall does get foamed. Hinman looks to push in. Scrap Rat is up on the table. They're ready to push in. Will they get the plant down, or will they just push in and try to get kills?
Oh, wow. Chaos unfolds. A multi-kill comes through, and we end the round in a hurry. 18 pick apart that push nicely as that tucked-in defender Scrap Rat finds a double, and everybody else does their job on rotating towards B. I thought for a moment, the risk of being as spread out as the defense ended up being there as well is that B site push could have worked out very well if they had gone a little faster into it. I think a little more confident inside. But obviously, I think they did push in pretty fast. But, at the end of the day, having 1 HP on your bar is not ideal, and going down quickly to Scrap Rat on the corner, not exactly optimal, but a nice attempt, a nice swing towards B site, and ultimately 3 left alive on 18's side. Push them up 5-2. And is anyone in double digits yet? Yes, Twin Cities hits the 10 mark for 10-3.
I have to say, I think part of what caused their downfall in that last round was I don't think there were any comms that he was up, that Scrap Rat was up on the bench. Someone got killed, and then another person ran straight past without looking, without checking it, and got taken out because of it. I think maybe the comms just unfortunately didn't reach them in time. Very point central gameplay. Actually, I'm just wrong. Frostbite is upstairs. Logan, actually, Bakira is downstairs, gets checked by a Kinman, but doesn't get seen. Now ready to push out. Kinman just barely, he's gonna curse himself if he dies from this roam because he did check it. A single piece of gunfire. Bakira pushes out, does take out Kinman. Kinman has to be just absolutely very sad because he checked that roam. I don't know if you saw that Nightfire, but he checked straight back to where he was, but just barely missed him by a hair.
Tiger Claw waiting in the toilet for a push to come their way. The Knut in their hand, as we do see it getting bought up there for the first time in this series. And 18 with everyone left alive, feeling good. SMGs into the hands of the Wizards, though, so damage can be done. It's a pretty even fight still, and just takes a quick push in from the likes of Killshot and the Wizards to find themselves control over A site. As they crack open that wall, utility comes in, and the plant at B is coming in. A nice diversion where nobody is home at B site.
They're going to watch it from the floor below. Pekka and Killshot pick up some kills over on the other point. Suddenly it's just Frostbite and Tiger Claw. And this is the danger for people playing off point so much when you're trying to get those roams off. It is so rough to get back if they do manage to get a plant off. Tiger Claw, alone with the Knut, does take down Pekka, but at this point he has to take out 2 players who are downstairs. But he might be able to get the defuse off, but it looks like he's just going to push downstairs to try to take them out. What?
No.
What are we?
Yeah, trying to find the kill. Doesn't have the time. EMP going to go off, and a nice push in as Krollo connects for a bit of extra cash. Definitely money into the hands of the Wizards there, but it's a nice round coming in from them overall. That was, I think, actually, I really liked what happened there. The bait over at A site to the push at B, perfectly coordinated, and it completely drew 18 out. 18 was feeling good with their 5-2 score line. Maybe, if anything, a little overconfident because they really full sent over towards A site to defend when EMP ended up getting planted at B with nobody home.
Yeah, and looking at the economy, it's very patchwork over on Wizards. Viper, Omen, well, 2 Omens, a Viper, a Knut, and an Orill are going to be their loadout. Meanwhile, we have 2 Omens, a Knut, and 2 Vezins looking pretty strong in 18. However, importantly, they won't have a lot of cash if they don't get this round off because they haven't lost a few rounds in a row. So it's going to be rough for them to get this off. Now we have Wizards going for the meta push onto storage. Will 18 be able to counteract it, or will they get taken out again?
Frostbite pushed up here, ready and waiting with one of the few rifles that they have bought into. No utility, though, so they're definitely going heavy on the gun option on defense here in round 9.
Interestingly, I believe there was a double drone into storage that got taken out by Frostbite, meaning, unfortunately, Wizards going to have to go in here completely blind on where the defense is. Tiger Claw is on Janitor. He may try climbing out the window I'm wondering if maybe he might climb out the window. Suddenly, storage is completely controlled by Shadow Wizard Renegade, but they flash themselves trying to throw it into the point.
Foam going down on B wall, and it definitely is a full B side stack here. This can be dangerous when you load everyone up into this room. A flank can be real bad for your health as it is coming in here. It's nicely defended by the likes of Kinman, though. And that ping does come in from Tiger Claw. Baccarat continues to slowly work their way to the back and finds one. Pushes forward for more, but no. Krolos shuts it down, thankfully, before anything else bad happens. EMP gets thrown down the conga line up to Logan and eventually planted.
That timing, they checked the flank twice and then backed up from the window, meaning they got taken down. Logan has the Knut, barely doesn't take out Scrap Rat and push down Scrap Rat, takes out Scrap Rat. Now it's Twin Cities and Tiger Claw, both at full health, trying to take down the 2v2. However, Logan Dungeon has a Knut, takes out Twin Cities. Tiger Claw tries to push out, gets taken out by Kinman. Suddenly, we're looking at a 4v5. The Wizards has almost tied this up.
That was an interesting round, to say the least. Shout out to everyone tuning in, stopping by, hanging out, and enjoying the action. We do appreciate you all for tuning in on this afternoon's Friday night battle. Please be sure to subscribe to the VRML network. We're doing all kinds of great content. If you haven't seen it, a new video just dropped from Gibular Bob, S-tier frag grenades. It's a pretty great one. I love to hear Bob's voice, and if you're a Bob fan, as I know there are a few out of you, a good majority of you out there, I do recommend you check out that VOD. It has a lot of some great replays, so a shout out to editors and the team for putting that one together. Also, if you don't know or you've been under a rock, VRML Con has been announced, happening again, but this time in Phoenix, Arizona. A little bit of a different format as well with a pay-your-way tournament, but gives you more opportunity to win cash. So do go check out VRMLCon, get all the details. You can go to vrmasterleague.com/VRMLCon. That happens July 25th to the 27th for a 3-day bonanza. Breachers obviously featured on stage. Several teams playing out across the afternoon, so it's going to be a good day of VR esports action and a $5,000 prize pool to boot. So I personally cannot wait. It's only 4 or so months away. But, yeah, get your tickets now and start planning. Get ready. Just like we're getting ready.
Great one.
Round 10. This the guy. I guess I said tiebreaker.
You might be right here. Especially, like I was talking about, Shadow Wizard Renegade, we were talking about how, they went down 2-4. However, I think maybe they just came in a little cold. They have been picking up these rounds with a good amount of speed. Now getting some good team play down. Pekka is on the stairs trying to figure this out. However, we're seeing a good amount of droning. Minute 30 on the clock, and they haven't even entered the building yet. It's going to be interesting to see if they can get the push in quick enough. Logan is holding the EMP. Frostbite, info peeking out. We do have Tiger Claw on the roam. He was actually over on Gen. However, he's rotated over towards the hatch. I'm curious about the plan from Wizards. They haven't made much of a move that looks like they may be going for a hatch. Meanwhile, looks like 18 may have learned from their mistake in one of those past rounds. They have a good point central game. However, I think they've loaded too many people onto B. You have Baccarat and Scrap Rat both on B. You have Twin Cities in Connector. Only Frostbite is really on A, and he's by gravel. There's not much he can do to support the team if they do push in quickly.
Yeah, this has been a lot of time burned by the Wizards.
On the
Tiger Claw still up here. Still a potential threat. Spins for Kinman, and they finally get him out, but at what cost? 2.5 minutes to get rid of the roam as they crack open that hatch. The push now likely to come in, but again, time ticks down. 30 seconds left as Frostbite is here, ready and waiting for the push to come through. The static emitter gets broken down. They need to breach the wall. They're not going to be able to do it. They have everyone alive, and they're going to lose a round.
Logan needs to plant. Does he not know he has EMP? He's ready to push down. Frostbite takes out Kinman from the gravel. Twin Cities takes the kill shot. Frostbite is pushed out, meaning EMP is going down. There's no utility from 18 to take this down, and EMP goes down with 5 seconds left.
Jeez, what a play from the Wizards, and definitely, from my perspective, a play. Nicely timed, down to the wire, finding a couple of kills, pushing it into a 2v3, and now finding another one. A nice pickup there as Scrap Brat's left alone.
Scrap Brat has a rough prospect ahead of him to get this off. One on hatch, maybe more as far as he knows. Frollo and Pekka out in the hallway. He can't really wallbang anyone. He has to take them down piecemeal. He doesn't have a lot of time, and he gets taken down.
Wow.
Almost on a 1v3 Nightfire. You may disagree, but on a 1v3, I might be saving, because that was some valuable money that he was holding that he could have bought, a rifle for a teammate. Right now, he can buy 2 if he had kept that Vezin. He could buy 2 for his teammates rather than 1 for himself. It's going to leave them pretty poor on this round.
Yeah, I think they'll still be able to buy each other. And, yeah, I mean, if anything, 18 is able to scrape by, but what utility do they really have? I think they've got a couple of losses in a row now, so at least they're getting that money in. But the Wizards are falling into a little bit of a rhythm. Their plays, their execution, definitely on point. That delay for basically 2.5 minutes ends up working out nicely for them. And, I mean, I really thought they weren't going to plant that EMP in time. He had 4 seconds left to get that final tick down. That is pretty close. I don't know if that's intentional, but if it is, it's very well timed.
If there were any throwables from 18, they might have been able to deny it, but I think the stars just really aligned for Wizard Money Gang, and they got that off. Another roam from Bakira trying to roam up the stairs. We haven't really seen Wizards roam down the stairs too much. Maybe we'll see if it works out. Double drone coming in from hatch. That is something odd that I'm seeing. We're on Wizards drones. They're throwing both the drones in on the same hatch or the same doorway and peeking the same angle. I feel like there's not enough variety. They're just going to get their drones taken out. Maybe pushing one into lockers would have been a good idea. Bakira ready to push up the stairs. Again, Wizards not quite sure where they want to push, it feels like.
Poking and prodding is what it sort of feels like right now. Opening up all their different entry points, trying to draw 18 out. Get a little extra kill here. Frostbite is eager for a fight, and they are vulnerable if the timing was right, but they'll drop back just in time as the rest of the Wizards pull in for their push onto A.
Akira ready to roam up the stairs. May take Pekka by surprise if they don't watch their flank. Tiger takes out Kinman with a fantastic nade onto the cubby. Frostbite peeks out, takes out Killshot. Nade, every bit of util is dumped into the A point. Takes out quite a few players. A 4v3 favoring over on 18. However, EMP maybe going down. But Kira does take out one on the roam. Logan Youngjet refrags, but that is a very important kill for his team, as now it is a 2v3 favoring 18.
Yeah, they got health syringes. They're going to heal up. HP bars should be okay for 18, and I think the Wizards are still going for the push. To your point, is it worth ecoing for them? I don't know. I think the loss might put them... I think they have enough to double buy, to get everyone rifles and utility and attachments. So I don't know that they need to eco, but I don't know that they are planning on a hard push here. I mean, look at this rotation from Logan, way up on the roof, all the way around to the other
Scrap
side.
Rat is going to see Crollo. Oh!